Labour Party is not perturbed at all by this judgment order. We have looked at it and we have found out that it has not affected our fortunes in any way. It has not affected the fortunes of any of our elected candidates, and they are good to go. From May 29, our candidates, our elected governor in Abia, and members elect in the National Assembly, including our senators elect, House of Reps elect, House of Assemblies elect, they are going to be sworn in. They are going to occupy offices because this judgment has not affected us in any way.
Labour Party must not take this ruling or judgment of the Kano judge lightly. Don't dismiss it with a wave of the hand, because it is not targeted at Alex Otti. It is not targeted at the Labour Party senators. It won't stop or affect their chances. Yes, like the Labour Party lawyer is claiming. But it should not be taken with levity, because it is not Alex Otti that is the target. It is not the senators that are elected or the House of Rep members that are elected on the Labour Party platform that are the target. If you read the judgment clearly or closely, you will see that it is targeted at Peter Obi. It is targeted at him, at the Presidential Elections Petitions Court, the tribunal. That's what that ruling is targeted at. It is targeted at preparing a ground for dismissing the petition of Peter Obi. So, the Labour Party cannot just dismiss it with a wave of the hand and say, oh, it doesn't affect us, it's inconsequential, there's no local standing, it's pre-election, whether it's pre-election or post-election matter, it does not apply. It is not targeted at Alex Otti. It is not. It is targeted at Peter Obi. Remember that one of the grounds for the preliminary objection of APC and Bola Tinubu against the petition of Peter Obi is that he is not a bona fide member of Labour Party. He's not a valid member of Labour Party. Based on the same grounds that Labour Party did not submit membership register, whether digital or physical, to INEC 30 days before the primaries, as prescribed by the Electoral Act 2022, Section 77, subsection 3. That the judge based his ruling on. That the court made that ruling, or that somebody went to court to make that ruling, is not out of place. It's the same as Abuja residents going to court and asking the court for interpretation of the 25% votes of the FCT. Is the same. Just as those 5 residents of Abuja went to court to ask for an interpretation of that section 134 of the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. That is how this individual, Haruna, which I hear is actually a former national chairman of the Labour Party. In the same way that Haruna has gone to court to ask for the interpretation of Section 77, subsection 3, as it relates to Labour Party and, in fact, any other party. So, waving or dismissing it with a wave of the hand will not help. This ruling is a ruling of a court in Nigeria and it is valid. What the Labour Party needs to do is make sure that this ruling is appealed and that the judgment is set aside or it is vacated. It must be done. We cannot just dismiss it with a wave of the hand and say it's inconsequential. Because if you do and it is not contested, what will happen is that the APC and Bola Tinubu will ride on that at the Presidential Election Petitions Court and use that to dismiss the petition of Peter Obi. That's the game plan. Like I told you, you should not be looking at this thing 1 step, 2 steps ahead. You should look at it 5, 6 steps ahead, like you do in a game of chess. That's what they are playing at. And if we can see what they are trying to do, if we can see their end game, at least project it, then we should be able to put countermeasures in place. And that will require that we don't just dismiss this ruling of this Kano judge with a wave of the hand and say, oh, it's inconsequential, it does not affect our fortunes in any way. It can affect the fortunes of the Peter Obi petitions at the election tribunal. It can. And one way to avoid the effect is to make sure that you don't dismiss it with a wave of the hand. Appeal it. Or apply for the judgment, the ruling to be vacated or set aside so that it doesn't come back to haunt Peter Obi's petition, and also to make sure that, indeed, I asked this question before, are we sure that Labour Party actually submitted that name? If it did not, then we should make sure we set this aside so that it doesn't come back to haunt us and bite us in the back.
There is no doubt about the fact that the court has blamed the Labour Party, faulted the Labour Party for failing to comply with that provision. What is the consequence? Is what we are discussing. Does it affect Alex Otti's victory in the governorship polls of Abia State? No. However, it states clearly, perhaps for subsequent elections, that if you fail to do such and such a thing, you will be in breach of the Electoral Act, and that is capable of actually robbing you of your victory. I must tell you, if that was filed as a pre-election matter by the right parties, particularly persons who participated in the primaries, asking that the court should set aside the outcome of the primaries of Labour Party across the country, it would have been valid, it would have had consequences, and as a matter of fact, even after they approached the Supreme Court, there would be the danger that Alex Otti and perhaps other successful Labour Party members in the various elections will have the elections set aside. But it's not so. It didn't fall within the bracket of what we can actually refer to as a pre-election matter. It also is not a matter before the tribunal, but it is validly a matter brought before the Federal High Court using the process of originating summons. And the court has done very well in the way it has made this declaration according to what it believes is the full interpretation of Section 77, subsection 3.
But I want to state clearly that Labour Party, we've filed with INEC our register of members. We never shirk that responsibility. We filed our register of members, and it is in our province to say who our members are. A political party is supreme over its affairs. An issue of membership, it is the political party that can say, these are my members. All the members elect, including our governor-elect in Abia, including our Senate, all of them are members of the party and contested primaries. And in the first place, that matter of whether somebody was qualified to contest an election in the first place, this is a pre-election matter, for God's sake. These people, the contested primaries, their names were published since last year. For example, for governorship, I think around July last year, the names of those who were successful in our primaries and the primaries of other political parties were published by INEC. And if anybody had a reason to challenge their candidature, that person should have gone to court within 14 days of the occurrence of the event. So now, that matter, if they want to call it a pre-election matter, that they are challenging the emergence of our candidates, then the statute bad. That court has no jurisdiction to listen to them. And if they are saying it's a post-election matter, when a person has been elected as either a governor or a senator or a member of House of Rep or House of Assembly, the only way you can go to challenge that election is to go to an election tribunal. 7 days to the conduct of an election.
Apologies for butting in. I think I asked the same question of Frank Tete earlier on, and I also bring that to you. But quickly here, unperturbed, you're not disturbed by the judgment, by the order.
Not at all. Not at
but
all.
Quickly here, as soon as you're done studying this, what's the next move by your party, being the legal advisor of the Labour Party?
Yes, it's a judgment of a court. We are not going to ignore it. We are going to go there to challenge the judgment, file an appeal, make sure that judgment is set aside. Though we are not, there's no injury to us, but we are going to make sure that judgment is set aside. And we are going to present our case before the court. We filed our register of members, both electronic and hard copy, with INEC. And INEC observed that we comply with everything we needed to comply with before they attended our primaries, wrote a report on those primaries. Those candidates emerged validly. Their names were published by INEC. Their names were published from July 22. Names were published by October 4 last year. Finalists of candidates were published. If anybody had any reason to challenge their candidature, should have gone to court to challenge it. Another feature of that judgment is that how do you expect a court in Kano to now be giving judgment against Alex Otti, who was not in that court, who was not a party, and who was not from that place? It is strange. But I want to say that the judge even said it in his own judgments that he couldn't give another against Alex Otti and the members elect from Abia. I'm surprised that he did also say that even members elect from Kano and other places were also not before the court. I don't know who deceived the court, who misled the court that the Labour Party was sacked. We were never sacked. We were so woody. But now that we have seen the order, for whatever it is worth, we are going to ensure that we file a notice of appeal to have it set aside, so that this thing will be put to rest. But well, we want to state that one of the things that this judgment has brought about is the mischief, and it is the harshest job that some of our suspended national officers have been sponsored to do.
I think you said that much earlier on. I'd like to thank you for your time, Kehinde Edun. Many thanks for speaking with us here on News 9, as well as Frank Tete. Many thanks as always.